Hello everybody and welcome back to Newegg TV. I'm Steve and joining us today in the studio we have Nick from ASUS. Nick, how you doing today?
Great, how are you doing, Steve?
Awesome, man. So I hear you guys have a brand new AC router to show us and maybe just walk us through some of the features and how the software works.
Yep, today I brought our RT-AC56U router, so this is the one sitting right in front of you here. This one I believe has just gone up at Newegg. And so essentially this is our 802.11ac 2x2 solution. 802.11ac is the new Wi-Fi standard. For those who don't know, they have been available for a bit over a year now. Some products have been out on the market. Manufacturers have had 802.11ac routers. This is the newest crop that is coming in the market within this last month or two. In the next month or two, you'll see a lot more products. The biggest difference is that the CPUs powering these routers are mostly going to be ARM processor based, so that a lot of them will be dual core ARMs, and that's a new thing in the router business. 800
megahertz on this particular one, is that right?
This one is actually at 1 gigahertz.
Oh, 1 gigahertz,
the high-end one that will come a little bit later will be an 800 megahertz
Oh,
chip.
that's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since we're on the topic of hardware, I guess we probably could look at the ports and whatnot on this particular device, right?
Yeah, so kind of traditional, kind of keeping in line with the design of our previous, you kind of see the diagonally patterned black design on the front, and then on the back here you can see we've kind of drilled out the ASUS. You can kind of see the red heatsink in the middle. We've got our 4 LAN ports, our WAN port, a USB 2.0, a USB 3.0. There's a little reset button right here in the middle, and then of course our power switch. The other 2 buttons that are physical buttons on the unit are actually going to be on this side right here. And you're going to have a WPS button and a Wi-Fi on and off button.
Perfect.
So WPS, for those that aren't familiar, it provides a quick and easy way to pair up 2 devices or your router with a wireless device. You can hit the WPS button on the wireless device, whether it's like a little USB network adapter, and then on the router as well at the same time, and they'll find each other, and you don't have to go through and configure the passwords and do all that stuff.
Perfect, Nick. And then just some LED indicator lights here at the front too. It's tough for me to see. Obviously the USB 3.0 port being in use by said device.
Yep.
USB 2.0 network indicator, internet indicator, 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and then a power LED, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and all blue it looks like too.
Yep.
Okay.
So as I mentioned earlier, it's our 2x2 solution. So what that means is that it has 2 transmit antennas and 2 receive antennas, and that's how you get the speed ratings that are advertised on the boxes, right? So on 802.11ac, what's used is 433 megabits per antenna. So if you see a router advertising, hey, we can do 867 megabits on 802.11ac, you know that that's got 2 transmit antennas and 2 receive antennas.
Right. Well, in terms of features, do you want to start into a quick setup and then kind of talk about the features as we go along?
Sure.
Okay.
So one of the things that we're going to show off here is our previous video. We did some speed tests, maybe with a bit more of our high-end router or clients. Here we're just going to maybe focus more on the features that it comes with. It is a plenty fast router. We can find a way to show some performance as well if we need to.
Okay.
But here I'm just going to focus on the ease of use. Your normal person is going to go out, buy this router. How hard is it going to be for them to set up? Right. How quickly are they going to be able to set it up, and how secure is it going to be? And
just so everybody understands, obviously it has power right now. We've already hooked it up to the WAN on our internet here, as well as the computer that you're seeing it connected to now.
Yeah.
So
and the router at this point is just factory defaults. So when a user will first plug it in, your computer it'll sense the computer getting the connection, and then it'll do an HTTP redirect. So what that means is that it's just going to send a message over to the computer saying, hey, open up your web browser and go to this address. So this is what we have set up here. When you connect your router, you'll get a pop-up here, and you'll see it says, welcome to ASUS networking family. Let's do the quick internet setup.
So what you're telling me also, just for clarification, is you didn't even have to remember which IP address was the default. It just automatically popped up.
It automatically, you don't have to put a CD in, you don't have to put an address in the bar, it just pops up.
Okay.
So we clicked on go. It asks us to create a password for our router. So
which is clearly very weak.
Very weak. So I just used admin for those that are watching.
Right.
The next step, it'll have you set up your wireless network. So here we see your 2.4 gigahertz network. Let's make a quick password, test 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go ahead and do that again for the 5 gigahertz network. We'll click on apply.
For home users, as you guys probably already know, never ever set up something this simple. Definitely try and pick something alphanumeric.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would
not that easy.
throw in some special characters, some numbers, some letters, mix those all together. This is, of course, going to use what's known as WPA2 Personal, so this is kind of the standard, what everyone should be using out there in terms of the most secure. So here we can see that it completed it. It's going to give us kind of a summary of what the configuration was. We can click on Next, and then that's it. Our router is configured, our 2.4 gigahertz network is configured, our 5 gigahertz network is configured, and they all have, they're all securely locked with WPA2.
So if you're not a power user, you could essentially just stop at this point, you're ready to go, jump on the internet, play games, everything's ready to go.
Everything's ready to go. The DLNA is enabled, so if you're using any devices to stream back and forth, or using like a media center, all of that stuff is all good to go.
Which is a really good point, considering the fact that if you're buying an AC router in general, just the throughput you're going to have, it doesn't really make sense to have something like this if you're not going to transfer files amongst everyone on the network wirelessly. You know, you've got your tablets, you've got your other wireless devices that you might be having connected, a NAS possibly holding all your music.
I think households and families or apartments full of roommates, they're streaming multiple HD streams to multiple devices all at the same time, and other networks are in the area, so we're seeing a lot of use, and I think there's a lot of benefit to getting a quality router.
Perfect. Okay.
So
do you want to go any deeper into this?
Sure. This is, so here we saw we haven't changed any page. This is the first page that it kicks us out after we've set up the router. This is the first page that you'll see if you log into the router as well. Say a week or two later after you set it up, if you log in, you want to look at some settings, this is where you'll be. This is kind of like the network map. It'll give you the whole summary. Up top here, it lets us know, hey, we're connected to the internet. This is the kind of security that you're using. And here on the right side, we can see that we do have our 2.4 gigahertz, and we can change the password, or we can change the encryption type right off the front page here, or we can click over to 5 gigahertz and do the same.
So the most commonly changed things, if you ever have to log in, are there at the very first page. So
right there on the first page. You don't have to go around all those basic things you can do right off the bat. You can see who's connected to the router, and then whether you have any USB devices, like a thumb drive maybe, or a printer, or an external hard drive.
Right. Good point.
So.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and just continue down and just take a look at the firmware.
Okay.
Right below, I think a popular option that we're seeing more and more on routers nowadays is the ability to do a guest network. So if you have visitors over, maybe you don't necessarily want to let them onto your own home network where you have shared files, maybe you have some personal or private files that you don't want shared. This allows you to essentially create a guest network that's totally separate from your own network. At the very bottom here, we do have an access intranet option, so you do have the ability to let them onto your personal network if you do want to.
And I noticed that there's actually 3 enable buttons here for each, for the 2.4 gigahertz side as well as the 5 gigahertz side. And so essentially, what does that mean for the user if they were going to enable one versus none?
That they can enable none, or they can enable up to 3 guest networks per band. So on total 2.4 gigahertz, you'll have your own and up to 3 guest networks. On 5, the same, and up to 3 guest networks. So in reality, you could have 8 different networks, wireless
running
networks,
completely off this router.
Running off this router simultaneously.
Okay, nice.
If we'll go ahead and continue going down, Traffic Manager, we do have a quality of service option, a QoS option. By default, we do on the first page. It's an easy option. You can just click it on and off. You can just turn it on.
Set a maximum upload and download bandwidth.
And then save, and then that's it, as easy as possible. Of course, we do have, we do like to give users as much kind of control as we can. So. Up here in the little drop down here, we have user-defined QoS rules, of course, that you can go in, and then user-defined priorities. So you can go in and really kind of tweak it to exactly how you want it if you're a power user that way.
Nice. Yeah, so this way you can set it up, okay, I want to be able to give web browsing a lower priority and give maybe file transfers a higher priority, or streaming videos, or gaming even possibly, depending on the port.
It'd be more important that your video doesn't lag when you're streaming than maybe trying to load a certain web page. Like you can wait an extra half second or a second for the web page. Yeah.
Clearly QoS has its place.
So some of the other options here, parental control. So of course we do give parental control access, so you can go ahead and turn it on here. Of course, you can select the client that it's connected to, and then
populates the Mac right away.
You can add it. You can go into time management. You can give it maybe certain times that you only want it to be able to access.
You're just clicking and dragging.
Yep.
So that's really simple.
and then you'll click OK, and there you go. You've set your kids to only be able to use the internet after school for up to an hour maybe, or...
I like here too, there's actually in the list of instructions on how to do it, the very last one is you can actually open up a tutorial video. So if you really don't have any idea of how to set up parental controls, maybe you're just that parent that's not the tech savvy one, but your kid is. So this is one quick and dirty way to get information, find out how to do it, even without this video to help you. I like that.
Yep.
So for the standard user just to jump in and have that kind of help is, that's great. Okay.
So, and we can see that a lot of the stuff that we are applying in setting changes, maybe those who've used routers in the last 5 years or 10 years ago have been used to having to wait maybe exorbitantly long for certain things to apply changes, or they have to wait a couple minutes. With these new dual-core ARM CPUs, things are much snappier and quicker, and you're kind of navigating around like it's a web page essentially.
Yeah, no, it's very quick.
So one of the cool things that ASUS tries to focus on its routers is the USB, how you can use the USB. So, of course, one of the cool features that we're going to go through here is the server center. So anything that you hook up through storage-wise through the USB ports, whether it's a thumb drive or an external hard drive, you can go ahead and share over your local network, of course. And if we go here to USB applications, server centers, it looks like we can go ahead and enable an iTunes server if we'd like. And then, as I just mentioned, in terms of enabling sharing over your local network, you can go ahead and create a Samba share, an SMB share, or an FTP share if you want to be able to link or to give access to someone maybe outside your home network to a friend and say, hey, I have this file that you need to get off me. Here's the address, here's the username and password for the FTP. Go ahead and log in and download it.
Or the business trip where you're out of the office, you know you need to have something, you stored it at home.
Yeah.
You know, that's a quick and dirty way to get it back again.
Exactly. If you want, you can run an FTP all the time off the USB if you want. The other cool thing that I wanted to focus on the USB is our AI cloud. So AI cloud is essentially what it sounds like. It's your own cloud. So there's a lot of cloud services out there where your files are on their servers. And some people may not be too comfortable with that. Some people like to have everything on their own. They carry maybe their own external hard drives with all their files because they don't want to offload their files and have them all be in possession of someone else on someone else's servers and someone else's possession, and maybe someone else can break into it. What we have is AI cloud. So this is a way of turning your whole home network and whatever's plugged into USB on the router to your own personal cloud. So a lot of people's internet connections are dynamic, or their IP addresses are dynamic, where they might change every once in a while.
Typically, yeah,
yes.
I completely agree.
ASUS provides a DNS service, so we're
so you don't have to use
forwarding
DNS or
yeah.
anything else?
So we do include all the other popular ones. We also have our own. So you can set up your own. You can name it Steve's AI Cloud. .asuscom.com.
Don't use that, that's mine.
and then you can choose, hey, I want to enable just the cloud disk on what's connected to USB on my router, or you know what, I want to be able to share all my network shares on my local network, or hey, I'm using ASUS Web Storage, which you can sign up for free and get 5 gigabytes of storage for free, and it works like an online cloud storage, and you can automatically sync whatever's connected through your USB port on the router to the web storage, so you have both a local backup and a cloud backup as well.
Good options there. Very nice. Okay.
So those are some of the cool kind of power features and maybe extra features that you might not see on other routers that we do put a lot of effort in and try to give a lot of additional value to those that are going to purchase our routers.
Right. To that end, too, I noticed you did there are some granule changes and adjustments you can make in here. Is there any just really kind of special tweaks that maybe this particular software offers and using your hardware? Yeah,
one of the things I did want to show off here in the advanced settings section in the bottom under wireless and professional. Before we go over to professional, let's just stay on the general here.
Okay.
We can see that we have our general settings. This is probably what most people are used to that have gone in and maybe set up or changed their password, or maybe they've got a little more advanced and they kind of did like a survey and to see which channels all of the wireless networks are on around them, and they say, hey, channel 7 is really more open, let me go in and set my router to channel 7 because I don't see anyone else on this channel. So this would be the area that you would do it. Of course, you can hop over to professional, and like what you were talking about here, one of the unique features that ASUS offers is the ability to manually adjust the transmit power. So down here you see TX power adjustment. So that's going to be the transmit power adjustment. And you can go ahead and adjust this for the 5 gigahertz and for the 2.4 gigahertz individually. And essentially what this allows you to do is control how much power output is used to generate that wireless signal.
Right.
So some examples of how you could use this efficiently is if your router is going to be somewhere maybe where there's a lot of other objects between the router and where the majority of the people are going to use the network are, maybe like in your basement. Yeah. You might need increasing the TX power adjustment maybe to 100 or 120. You'll have to try and test for yourself to see exactly what will work best.
I imagine.
Will help it get past that initial roadblock and up into the house area. If you do this just in a normal room or your normal living area, you might actually suffer degradation of performance. So this is more for the power users, but gives them the option to control that. If you're in a small apartment, you can actually lower the transmit power adjustment, and then you might actually get better signal. And better reception.
I recommend too, if you're going to play with this, you'd probably want to play with the 2.4 gigahertz more than the 5, because my understanding is the 2.4 tends to permeate walls and other solid objects a little bit better than the 5 gigahertz does. But great. Okay.
So I think that kind of gives a kind of good gist of a lot of the features that we offer. We do obviously have other kind of more power features, like you are able to turn the WAN port into another LAN port if you'd really like.
Oh, okay.
We have a VPN server built in, a lot of firewall options that you can change around. And then of course, one of the things that we didn't show during the setup was if there is an update to the firmware during that quick internet setup, it will actually prompt you and say, hey, you know what, there's a new version out. Before you go in and configure all of this or set up your router, let's download the new version first.
Smartest way to do it.
Update, and then you're good to go. And then one of the other things, this is kind of standard on our line of routers, on most models, is the ability to switch the router into different modes. So by default, it is a wireless router. That's usually why people buy the thing.
Right.
But of course, you can set it up into an access point or a media bridge. If you want to bridge some devices that aren't wireless, that only have an Ethernet port, you can get one of these routers. This router will make the connection back to your main router.
Allow that to do the DHCP. And
exactly.
Then, right. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Well, fantastic. Hey, this is an awesome little device you have here. I know you guys have a couple other things on the horizon. Is there anything newer, bigger, crazier that's coming out next in terms of wireless routers?
There is going to be, in about a month or two of time, there will be a newer kind of Halo product, like high-end router. That will be a 3x3 solution. So the AC on that one will be rated at AC1200 or AC1300. Because it'll be 433 per antenna, so it'll be AC1300.
Okay.
And it'll actually be labeled as an AC1900 router, and that will be the RT-AC56U.
Wow. Oh, fantastic. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming in. And thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to click the like button. If you haven't already done so, click subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.